Welcome to the third installment of Fresh Insights on the Fresh Cred podcast, proudly brought to you by Kern Ridge Growers. In today's episode, we're excited to be joined by Andy Hamilton, CEO of Markon. Andy shares his expert perspective on the economic forces shaping the produce industry, including supply chain dynamics, market trends, and the challenges and opportunities facing growers and distributors alike. This conversation is packed with insights that every produce professional and engaged consumer will find invaluable. Let's dive right in.
Good morning and welcome, folks. Thanks for joining us. We're here at the International Fresh Produce Association, the food service conference in Monterey, California, and here with my co-host, Mr. Craig Slate.
Good morning, Edward. How are you, sir?
I am fantastic. And we are now being joined by your friend and mine, Mr. Andy Hamilton.
Good morning, fellas.
Of Markon.
Glad to be here with y'all.
Thanks for joining us.
Markon and man of many voices, too.
We'll see how many you get out today.
Yeah.
I think last time we got out a couple of voices, had a couple of comments come back. Like, I didn't know you did that stuff.
Well,
I try to minimize it now.
So the idea, just so everybody knows, is that this is going to be the serious side of the Fresh Cred. Let's talk what the hell is going on with inflation, man. I mean, my God.
Inflation has been a story which was first ignored, then explained away, and we heard that it was going to be temporary, transitory. You could get Don King out there with all kinds of different adjectives about what it was not, but it was for real. And one thing you still see in the food service industry is still remnants of heavy accumulation of inflation. The CPI data they've got every month, they'll show the food away from home inflation versus food at home, kind of the retail versus food service. And it's always about, I'd say consistently for the last year, it's been about 3 points higher. As far as the effects that have built up in the food service supply chain, labor being a big issue. Certain states have really escalated wages, and it shows up, and it's something that's real. And I think the industry's been incredibly resilient. It's very entrepreneurial industry, and it's made up of some terrific operators, but you get to a point where you look at and you get sticker shock out there when you look at the prices on the menu. So it's been tough.
And on this, so Matt and I talked about this on the Credible report. Actually, just 2 weeks ago, we talked about the CPI report came out, and home food away from home was still at a fairly accelerated rate. But inflation overall, right? So there's inflation in the production costs. I mean, what you're having to buy has been inflated, not only because of their input costs, but weather's been a factor on that side. Labor has been a huge deal. Fuel. If you look at the fuel piece of it, that's been really the only relief point, if you would, in the inflation side of it. What is it for what you're seeing, either with Markon's business, but realistically at the restaurant level, because that's who all you guys are serving? What do you see is the number one driver behind inflation? Is it labor? Is it production? Or is it product cost? Is it input cost? What is the big driver?
Well, just to clarify, it's not restaurants are a huge percentage of it, but there are other food service chains.
Today's episode of the Fresh Cred podcast is proudly brought to you by Kern Ridge Growers. Since 1973, Kern Ridge Growers has been a trusted, family-owned and operated business dedicated to bringing the freshest produce from the heart of California to your table. With over half a century of expertise, Kern Ridge Growers stands out with superior service, premium products, and an easy, efficient order process. From our year-round carrots to vibrant citrus and crisp peppers, we oversee every step from seed to shelf, ensuring top-notch quality in every bite. Experience the Kern Ridge Growers' commitment to excellence, quality, and reliability. Visit kernridge.com to discover more about our products and services. Thank you.
So remember, you're talking about all kind of places where you can eat away from the home. So you could have hospitals, if you're not feeling well, prisons if you didn't behave well. There are lots of places that are still in the food service type of sporting events.
Are they eating fresh
schools.
fruit and vegetables at the prison?
We want them
Are
to
we
be healthy.
taking care of those guys?
As our old boss Fred Heptonstall said, correct. We want them to have healthier, happier lives. Even if they're in the slammer there.
I'm sure Ed is working on getting RPCs into the prison system because that was.
I've been to all the Texas TDGCs.
That's an area for you guys to be working on, Yoshi.
Ed, I think they would call that a captive loop, closed loop right there in the prison system.
All right, so
IFCO, I'm already doing some free consulting for you guys right now.
That's awesome.
So.
Yeah.
You really didn't do much
of a conversation.
I expected a Fred voice there, but you.
Slate, what the hell are you talking about?
There you go. So yeah, you're right. Good point on outside of just your regular restaurant, sit down or go.
Are
Schools,
huge, right?
yeah. I mean, schools, they're a big part of this show here in Monterey. We're K through 12, colleges and universities. Those are always pretty immune to kind of the bumps that are going on in the economy because people are always going to school. Enrollment has been a challenge, I think, at the college level, but we're still seeing demand increase, whether it's K through 12 or colleges and universities out there.
So enrollment meaning, it's not been down. Is enrollment
well,
down?
you've got some places that are struggling to get students.
Really?
Yeah. Well, it's a whole. We can go into on the tape with a whole new Guy Adami outlook on why people are not going to colleges like they used to with perhaps some of the majors. Not everybody's an engineering major.
Right. And I've got my takes on the university as well, but we probably not necessarily food related, and another show that you and I will do.
Another show, tangent, spinoff.
But going back to my question, in your perspective, is it labor? Is that really the big driver?
I think labor's a big part.
Yeah.
I mean, we always see weather is going to be a part of your food costs and fresh produce. There are going to be disruptions. We saw, I guess it was coming up on 2 years, INSV, the impatiens necrotic spot virus, if you want it all spelled out for you. I mean, that just was devastating to Salinas and parts of Santa Maria.
I know you're super familiar with the necrotic spot virus, but I'm not sure all the listeners.
Bad.
What the hell is a necrotic spot virus? That sounds very bad.
Squash. So you guys at SunFed probably maybe even
correct.
Some more
we don't
squash
have this.
Because there was no lettuce out there to sell, or very little of it, and there are lots of theories on things that happen. Thrips came from fires, came from drought. Lots of different kind of.
But weather's always kind of an impact.
And that really changed the complexion of the industry and made prices sky high, and that kind of coincided with some of the inflation out there. So
add disease to the list.
Plague, a lot of things. That was almost a biblical proportions a couple years ago, at least it felt like it. We're expecting a smoother season so far, but you never, how it is in produce. You can never be complacent. You always got to be prepared for something's going to happen. We've had several heat events already kind of this Salinas season, that have created a few quality issues. We have a pretty good, more than pretty good, I'd say. I'd be doing them a disservice to just downplay it, be that humble. But our QA group has a live from the fields report that's posted on YouTube and other social channels that goes through all, every week they're out publishing something about what's going on in the fields here in California, and also during the wintertime in Yuma and Coachella. Great insight.
How do you look that up? Just Markon live from the field?
Markon live from the fields. The gentleman's name who typically does he'd be a great guy actually to have on if you wanted a real serious podcast.
Yeah.
John Galvez. He's a good musician too. He's got many more talents than I have.
So he can play music.
He can play music while he's doing live from the field.
I love a song.
I don't know if we've done that yet though with John playing the guitar while he's live from the fields. That would be. Man, I'm full of
great
ideas.
Does he know any Red Hot Chili Peppers?
I heard he might do a better job than somebody else. I heard that that did that over on Alvarado Street one time.
Yeah, somebody.
Can you think who that was?
A big Chili Peppers fan that I really thought would know all the words to the song. And
well.
even with them on a screen in front of him, surprisingly could not remember them.
Do that. Give it away now. Come on.
Give it away.
Hey,
give it away. Give it away now.
Hey, I looks like Anthony Kiddis. That's right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I might have not. I didn't have my glasses on. It was kind of hard for me to read that night, so I just say that.
How were you trying to read? I mean, I've heard you sing.
Well,
the
my
words
memory wasn't in
times.
good working order either.
Shock. Right.
It was after a day of doing this and just talking all day. So
All right. Meanwhile, back at the ranch,
Back at the
literally,
ranch. So we're talking.
Well, we're talking.
Inflation.
So you know what? I'm sorry. I'm just going to answer my perspective.
All right, go
I
ahead.
think freaking labor
it was
is.
a leading question.
I think freaking labor is really the thing that is ubiquitous across all of our businesses. That's a challenge.
It is ubiquitous.
Yeah, and
That's a good word, Craig.
Yeah. Well, I looked it up before we got on the show. You know.
Hey, I'm going to drop ubiquitous on him today.
Yeah. So, but it is. It's impacting everybody, and and it impacts it.
A little early to be dropping U-bombs.
I'm going to use it all day. Every episode we do today is getting
I'm getting ubiquitous today.
Yeah, ubiquitous is the word of the day, kids. So hey, look alive. Don't ask me how to spell it.
That was my next question.
No, we're not going down that road. But labor and for me, okay, it's we've talked about it. Labor's an issue. And it's not only an issue. The NRA, National Restaurant Association, had a report out. 15.7 million people employed within the restaurant industry, and then there's the number they quoted like within that space, 45% of the operators are still reporting not being able to access the amount of labor they need to service the demand. I mean, is it getting better?
I think labor is getting better, but once people start there was this acceleration of wage hikes that happened. People started getting all the different stimulus payments during the pandemic, and there was a lot of money. That's really the driver for inflation, other than the supply chain effects. I mean, the classic definition is got too many dollars chasing too few goods, and you had a lot of dollars in the hands of kind of the person that's going to be your labor out there, whether it's a restaurant or any other field out there. And it's really added to a huge component of cost. I mean, we know food costs are going to be affected in produce by weather, supply and demand.
Yeah.
And supply's been limited in some cases, and labor here in California, most of the western states is sky high. And once people get paid a certain amount, it's not like they're going to take less.
Hey, I'll take less next week.
But what does happen is you end up cutting their hours. So that's something that happens in restaurants. You cut out, okay, we're not going to work on this day. We're not going to have lunch on this. We're not going to serve lunch anymore. Lots of different ways that they kind of control their costs to maximize. So, if we don't serve lunch, maybe more people will come to dinner.
Right.
At the restaurant, and then they can have better capacity utilization for the operator at dinner time. But I think a lot of creativity is required to be a profitable operator, particularly in the age of tight labor and inflation like we've been in.
So, I mean, overall, do you see are you seeing it? Not. I mean, everybody talks about it, but are you seeing any technology that's changing that labor dynamic? Have you seen any restaurants reduce their employees at whether it's a quick serve or something like that because they got AI Susie, there working?
I've seen a number of kind of tests or pilots out there to reduce labor. I mean, again,
what's an example?
Back to Craig.
What's an example?
All right, the Craig Slate word of the day, the ubiquitous maybe example.
Yeah.
That you would have seen was McDonald's and their kiosks. That when you go in, you've got a giant size screen, that's staring you in the face.
Right.
Does everybody know how to use it? Probably not, but
I thought you just walk up. I mean, if it's AI, you just walk up. It's just like, hey, I need a Big Mac and some fries. Knock me out. And AI gal goes and makes it happen. That's
Right.
not the way that
Not
is
quite.
not that the
At
way it
McDonald's,
works.
my experience at McDonald's has not been quite like that yet. Not to say McDonald's doesn't maybe have something in the works.
In the queue?
In the queue for later on.
I don't know. The labor piece of it, it's the way this works, right? I mean, the way it works in anything, right? Prices are going up, and this is going to lead into the next question. Labor's going up, prices are going up for whatever reason. It gets to a point where, hey, was going to go to this beautiful white tablecloth restaurant. Now I'm going to one that doesn't have a white tablecloth, and I'm going to spend a little less. And then it trickles down. Or I was going to McDonald's 3 times a week. I'm going to go to McDonald's twice a week, because at some point, prices get to a point. You know, the old saying, the cure for higher prices is higher prices, which is the fact is prices get so high, people quit buying, demand starts to come down, and either it stops going up or they have to come down to bring back the demand.
You got to figure out some way to bring value back into the equation. I think white tablecloth restaurants, the fine dining, full service dining, they've done pretty well in most pockets. I think it does lend credibility to the statement that there have been some people that have, the Magnificent Seven, the write up in the stock market. There are some businesses that have done really well. GDP's been pretty good. There's an element, if you're a homeowner, you're not renting. There are parts of society that have done great, and they've been able to get back and enjoy the fine dining element, the white tablecloth establishments. That's gone pretty well, but they're definitely chinks in the armor out there with sometimes I'd say the more value oriented sit down kind of restaurants, or maybe they say, okay, we're going out and we're only going to spend $50 and for 2 people or something like that, and that really constrains the spend. And for us in the produce industry, or specifically food service industry, part of produce, we don't want them to cut out a salad. We don't want them to cut out berries on a dessert. And, something's got to give. Back to your original point, I think we've seen that over the last year and a half, that at times we can see visible effects of a people, consumers, customers cutting back. I mean, there are other times. I'll bring up Mother's Day this year. I haven't looked at exact data comparing other Mother's Day, but it was a blowout. I mean, it was
really?
An incredible Mother's Day event.
That's is it Mother's Day one of the top
it's a
5
it's a number one
eat out days or something?
dining out period.
Yeah, and in
food
floral, I
service.
think it beats Valentine's Day even in floral.
Everybody takes care of their mom. Maybe the industry needs to get a number 2. We need more Father's Day love. Get out there. I guess nobody takes out.
Nobody
dad.
takes Dad out.
Yeah, Dad.
Hey, Dad, why don't you go cook a burger?
I grilled my own steak that day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe that society needs to change somehow, and we would have another great month in food service if that were the case.
We need to partner up with Hallmark. They're the ones that create all the damn holidays.
Yeah, Mother's
know.
Day seems to be the only one that's
It's contraction.
it's really contraction hard for this food service industry. But you think with like Canada gets tons of days. I mean, I think they get a day off almost every month for something, and it doesn't really drive the numbers like that.
I wonder if Boxing Day is a big eating out day.
I don't know. I think maybe they're eating out of whatever box they had it last week.
So, all right, along the theme of the eating out and trading down, within our space, within produce, okay, category wise, I know. It's my understanding within the food service space, leaf is probably the big dog, correct?
Lettuce, it's plot. Potatoes, lettuce, onions, tomatoes, those are the big ones. But yeah, there's a reason why Markon is based in Salinas.
Right.
And all the leafy green items, most of the company headquarters for those commodities are here. And it is a big gun out there.
I've never heard plot. That's the name of another show.
Plot. what
Potatoes.
plot twist.
Don't tell them.
that could be the
potatoes, lettuce, onions, and tomatoes. And the whole damn show's about plot.
That's called an
And it's
acronym.
it's a freaking play, but I know what it's called, but it's also a play on freaking words.
Yeah, it's great.
You can really go deep.
Is that what you call a double entendre?
No, it is not. You reached way too far.
Yeah, there's no second meaning of sexual
Well, no,
nature.
a plot of ground. It's a plot of ground.
What are you doing on that plot?
We can talk about it later. Hey, but I mean, not to say you glossed over it, but you
Not
mentioned
gloss, wax on.
Yeah, that fuel prices have somewhat relatively stabilized, but truck availability is not improving. So, I mean,
You're talking about 18-wheeler trucks?
Yes. No, a pickup truck.
I thought
Hey, I got a Chevy Avalanche right here.
yeah, I thought
know
you
how much
were
that
buying-
thing
buying a new
costs?
pickup.
It's concerning. I mean, we get reports, every week, every other week on the load to truck ratio, and it's super imbalanced. I mean, it's getting worse, and people were talking about that industry and how it's at risk of continuing to lose labor. We're talking about labor, right?
Yeah.
So available drivers, and it's getting more and more expensive for them to go to driving school if they need to, or the fact that historically, I think a lot of the produce transportation companies were owner-operator types. It's still relatively specialized versus dry freight. So I'm not a freight expert.
Yeah.
But it's concerning.
What are you seeing on the freight side?
It's definitely a cyclical, supply and demand driven industry. It's been better. Sometimes you can tell just by how many freight brokers email you looking for business, on what exactly you didn't see many of those emails during the pandemic or right afterwards, but the last couple of years seen more. But I think, Ed, you're probably speaking to the larger trend of most of the kind of like pickers in the fields. A lot of them are older, and they're kind of the quote aging out. And who are the next generation of drivers behind them? Are there kind of the Elon Musk self-autonomous truck driving, and what's going to be the future there? Is technology going to kind of come to the rescue? Possibly.
I'm honestly I'm surprised, because I really thought, I still think I'm surprised we don't have more autonomous trucks, Frank.
Yeah, and it's one that maybe because we haven't reached that crisis point where the drivers are still enough in availability where they're not having to push as hard as they might if there were no drivers, and that really forced the issue out there. But I know in terms of our businesses, our four members, Gordon, Benny Keith, Nicholas, Shamrock, all those guys put a lot of emphasis on drivers, retaining drivers, ensure they drive the best equipment out there. I know even Devin McClellan, who is the president of the dairy in the manufacturing division of Shamrock, they have their own dairy as well as food service. They have the Rockin' Protein drinks out there, and Devin actually got a CDL himself, to kind of show solid. He's out there backing up trucks, and it's a owner's part of the family ownership, and I think it just shows how.
I'll sponsor you getting a CDL. Just to FYI, I want to see you backing up an 18.
I have a hard enough time backing up the the car without.
Can I be his instructor?
In there.
Well, you can be his instructor. I already know you know how to drive a truck.
I know it's not easy. I couldn't imagine driving around an 18-wheeler, and especially with all the
I see them
moron drivers out
So
there having to
do
dodge
you
them.
know what the latest, I don't know, as of last week, what the load to truck availability ratio was?
I didn't bring that. I thought we were going to talk about Red Hot Chili Peppers today. I didn't think we were going to talk
You're
about
supposed to set them up.
My guess is somebody knows that answer to that question, so he wanted to. He wants to.
Is
spout
this your
out a-
version of knowing what ubiquitous means right there? You did your research before. Edward, why don't you tell us?
Yeah,
what the
tell
word-
us.
Well,
what
as
is
a matter
it?
of fact, I happen to have that little piece of data right
That's
in front
amazing.
of me.
Yeah,
4.73 to 1.
I'm not even sure what that means.
In other words,
Please
there were
explain the context of that,
4.73 of loads demand, like demand of
4.3%.
no 4.73 loads. In other words, like
4 loads for every driver that's available.
for every driver. That's
What's the average over the last
it's
20
close.
years?
Like,
ahead?
well, I don't. Oh boy, now you're
Well,
now
you
you're
know,
grilling
you
me.
done got
He's
it.
setting me up.
Yeah, you brought up the statistics.
I don't know what the average is, but it's always typically in the 3s, and as of like 2 weeks before, it was 3.5. So it is summertime though. I mean, I think summertime it tends to.
Definitely, you've got some of the different lanes. Always, I remember kind of like during the wintertime, the Florida loads get expensive, and depending on all the traffic coming from there, and
Hurricanes
will accelerate probably drive your 4.73 number out there.
Yeah, no, the freight, like I say, fuel costs coming down. Freight's been a deal. I will tell you on our side from Sunfed, it is better in terms of costs than it has been. We went through, I guess it's probably 18 months ago or something like that. It got crazy. There was a point in time when you couldn't find anybody, and the cost of doing it was ridiculous. And it has subsided some and better. But my outlook is whatever it is now. My outlook is for it to go back to being bad. Frankly, I think that there's a lot of trucking companies that have faced financial challenges, and what you're going to see is supply shrink, not just from a driver standpoint, but I think you're going to see equipment. I'm not going to say shrinkage. I am going to say.
Well, I was trying to just gloss over that one.
Yeah, were you? Well, I thought I had to bring that up.
Put a bit
You
of a
want this to be a
spotlight
fun podcast.
Hey, I want to get into that double entendre. I told y'all.
So was that a double entendre that time? I'm just curious. I don't know.
Is now the time to talk about Craig's Grill out there?
It's probably a good time to bring it up.
Well, was there any sticker shock when you went to the orthodontist? Because my second child is going through orthodontia.
Oh yeah.
And I'm still pretty surprised on how much it's gone up.
Well, the audience may
even
not.
since the first one. I didn't pay for my own. I had braces. I held the record at my orthodontist, and he was about to retire. I had the record for the largest overbite, like in his whole practice.
Is there like a plaque in his office still there? You go by.
There's
and
like
see
a
that?
bronzed casting of my grill, and like the 2 front teeth are like horizontal when the rest of them are like vertical. Really bad.
You know what? You should get that and put that in your office. Since you don't have a Viva Fresh Golf Tournament trophy, you could put that in there.
Okay.
Like, what is this? Why is there an animal?
But yes, we did notice some hardware.
Yeah.
there.
Did you get it like a Ludacris or 2 Chainz version? You could have gotten in gold.
I literally asked. So apparently.
I knew you would.
So the top ones, they only do the top ones. They do in like you can get in like porcelain or something. But I think they said I could have got diamonds or something. But I literally asked. I was like, so could you make it look like a grill? and she's like, what? And I was like, you
weren't going to a dentist in the ATL, Craig.
I was not in the ATL.
You went to the wrong spot.
Yeah, they're in Tucson. I mentioned her. I was like, a grill, like a rapper.
So you didn't hear this because you weren't on this episode, but I came up with what I felt is like the embodiment of Craig, not from a financial perspective, but from a life perspective. He is the reverse mortgage of life.
Reverse.
He's going backwards, like
he is going backwards. Yeah,
he needs to go back.
God
back
bless
to the
Tanya
future.
Slade.
Yeah. Oh, amen to that.
Witness the reverse mortgage.
She has to live with. He's
already
reverse
past
mortgage.
the time in that reverse mortgage of when she met him for the first
Bending
time.
the space-time continuum.
8th grade, Craig.
Yeah. So hey, I needed braces. My bottom teeth were bad. Had to have one pulled. I got a little gap now. I got a gap in the bottom.
You had an extra?
I had an extra. Had an extra in there. So yes, I got. I'm.
You don't need this. I can just see him.
I drank a lot of milk when I was a kid. That's why I got that extra tooth. Calcium building up all over the damn place.
Makes somebody good.
I got milk.
Yeah,
I got that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Tom Coleman, give us a Tom Coleman. Take us out.
It's a gong show.
It's a gong show. I love it. That's it. All right, baby. That takes us out of here. The gong
We'll
show
see you
is
soon,
done
Tom.
for the day, man. We'll see Tom at Global Show with Andy. We'll be posting up there and bringing you guys a hot show from that fabulous show. Thanks to IPA.
I'll be sick that day.
Thanks to all the sponsors. We appreciate it, guys, and we'll see y'all soon. We're out.
That wraps up another impactful episode of Fresh Insights, the future of food service on the Fresh Cred podcast. A huge thank you to Andy Hamilton for sharing his in-depth analysis of the economic factors driving change in the produce industry. Today's episode was proudly brought to you by Kern Ridge Growers, your trusted partner in high-quality produce. We also want to extend our gratitude to all our series sponsors, Wiggins Farms, Sunfed, and IFCO. If you found value in today's discussion, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, share the episode, and stay tuned for more fresh insights on the Fresh Cred podcast. See you next time.